To be frank, I was literally upset after this interview. It's not good to see an experienced person struggling to answer for a simple question. 8 questions were unanswered by many of the senior piping designers. So in this video, I am going to share about those key questions which is not answered by these senior piping designers. Hi everyone, welcome to Pymedaca and I am Subhash Chandran. Today I am going to share about an interview which was conducted few years ago to hire few senior piping designers. Let me repeat that once again. It is not for senior piping design engineers, it is for senior piping designers. So the expectation for the senior piping designers is they should have a strong knowledge about the piping layout and routing, pipe support selections, and as well as drawing review and how to manage the drawings in different stages of the project, and to be aware about all the deliverables in the projects, and should have a well-versed knowledge in handling both 2D and as well as 3D tools. So this is the overall expectations. And we had summarized somewhere around 20 technical questions in order to qualify them. So the idea was whoever scores high in this 20 questions are the one who's going to get chosen for this. So we had segregated this 20 questions in such a way that it covers partly about a layout, partly about the routing, supports, MTO preparations, drawing review and drawing checkings, and 2D and 3D and as well. What was happened during the interview was literally upsetting for us. During the interviews, the highly experienced designers were unable to answer some of the simple questions. So this was literally against our expectations, but fundamentally you have to give an opportunity for those who have scored high. From the learnings that we had from the interactions, what we understood is, so the experienced candidates, some of them were unable to answer certain questions is because that when you work in a company, the company segregate people into different groups. So one group of people don't get an opportunity to learn or to get an exposure of other side of an engineering. For example, if you're working only in isometric productions, so you don't get an opportunity in layouts. So if you're only working plot plan, you don't get an opportunity in piping layouts. This was the issue why these experienced people were unable to answer. So in this video, I am going to share those key questions. Out of 20 questions, 8 questions were unanswered by many of the senior piping designers. So it's important to learn the basis of these questions so that at least you don't do these mistakes in your next interview. At least you will prepare yourself before going to your next interview. So without wasting your time, let's get started. Number 1, where to locate a high temperature piping in a pipe rack? You just have to answer them by showing some section of pipe rack where this high temperature lines are supposed to be located. So many of the experienced piping designers were unable to answer. However, few of them have answered and they done well. So the answer is that when you locate a high temperature piping in a pipe rack, fundamentally you have to position these lines at either to any extreme corners of the pipe rack. That's because high temperature line has a tendency to expand, so that you have to provide an expansion loop. If you provide an expansion loop being at the corner of this pipe rack, you will be able to extend the loop outside with minimal loops, and also it will not disturb the other spaces. However, if you place the line in the middle of the rack, it will occupy the most areas which is predominantly should be utilized for some other purposes. Number 2, how to prepare a plot plan. Most of them have not answered this question. Most of the reason is that they had no idea about it, and the another reason is that from last couple of years they didn't work in this particular section of design. So ideally, plot plan is one of the important drawing that needs to be finalized at the very initial stage of the project, which needs a certain parameters to be finalized and certain parameters to be assumed, and it needs to have a proper coordination between a certain disciplines in the organizations. So this is one of the key deliverable for any piping design projects. So as a senior piping designers, you must have a strong knowledge about the plot plan preparations. Number 3, what should be the first support in a pump suction nozzle piping? Most of the designers have answered saying shoe supports, trunnion supports, rest supports and all, but only few of them have exactly pointed out the name of the support. The answer is adjustable pipe supports. What is the purpose of adjustable pipe supports? Because it requires in order to make an appropriate alignment with the pump nozzle during the commissioning. Only if you provide an adjustable support, you will have the provision to adjust the support. That's the intent of this purpose of installing the adjustable pipe supports. Number 4. How to locate a heater or a furnace in a layout. This sounds to be a simple question, but you need to have a deeper understanding about locating a critical equipment, which is basically an equipment which has a high potential fire source, such as a heater, flare or furnace in a layout. This is exactly driven by one of the primary parameter, which is known as a wind direction assessment. What it is? You have to locate these fire potential equipments in a with respect to the wind direction, so that the flammable gases or flammable any type of things which will not come in contact with the fire sources or the equipment which has a exposure to the fire basically. So you have to locate the heater, furnace or a flare at the upwind side of any process area, so that the gas will not travel to the fire source. You can either locate in the upwind side of any process area, or you can locate in the crosswind side of the process area. It is logically to have to avoid the gas potential of gas, which means a flammable gas traveling to the fire source should be avoided. So that is the intent of it. So when you ask such questions, you should exactly tell them saying that it should be located with respect to the wind direction, and the wind direction should be the upwind, or it should be the crosswind side. So this should be the answer for this particular question. Number 5, what is PT rating and what is the standard used to finalize PT rating? As a senior piping designers, we should have a strong knowledge about the PT rating, because you are the one who is going to go through the piping class. So if you don't analyze what is the PT rating, you may not be able to identify the mistakes if it was done by the engineer who had selected a wrong PT rating piping class. So as a piping designer, you should also have a strong knowledge about it. PT rating is nothing but the pressure temperature rating, and the standard referred is the ASME B16.5 flange standard. So this is the standard which is generally used actually. So you can go through about much more details about this PT rating in the Google and internet. There are multiple sources available, but basically the requirement is that you should have a strong knowledge about it. Only then you will be able to use the right piping class or the PMS. Number 6 is where to place a drip leg in a steam line. This is one of the most important thing to be done in the steam line. If you get an opportunity to work in a steam line, you will be required to do this activity. So you should have a strong knowledge about a conceptual idea about how to place and where to place the drip leg in a steam line. So the fundamental answer is that generally it varies from different types of steam. Basically, the distance between a drip leg is lesser in a saturated steam and more in a superheated steam. So it varies from 30 meter to 50 meter, and at times it varies from 50 meter to 100 meter. But the overall understanding is that do you aware about this subject or not? It's not about the exact distance that you need to know. Whether you aware about the superheated and saturated steam, whether you aware about the minimum required distance, every 30 meter to 50 meter you have to place one. So if the condensate is less in the line, then you will increase the length to 50 meter to 80 meter or 100 meter accordingly. And moreover, drip leg needs to be placed in a lower point where the condensate gets collected actually. So you can plan based on your layout. If there is a low point, it's better to provide a drip leg so that the all condensate will get drained out actually. So this is the entire purpose of the drip leg, and you should have a strong understanding about this. Only then you will be able to work effortlessly in your actual work when you get to work in the steam lines. Number 7th is, what are Series A and Series B flanges? Most of the piping designers have no clue about it. Only few of them have answered. So fundamentally the answer is that there must be a strong understanding between what is Series A and Series B flanges, where it is exactly used and what is the standard. So these are flanges available in ASME B16.47 for larger diameter flanges, where Series A is for the standard usage, and for series B is for the compact usage. Basically series A is a lighter, a heavier flanges, but series B is a lighter flanges, and the dimensions are different for both. The PCD diameter for the bolts is different, the bolt dias are different, number of bolts are different. So basically these are used for different purposes basically. So when somebody asks you such questions, at least you should have this knowledge. Even though you have not used it in your real work experience, you should aware about these are the standards where different types of flanges are available. At least you can do an interview preparation before going for an interview, so that you won't be struggling to answer those simple questions. Because you see, in an interview, like, the intention of the interviewer should be different for different interviews. So it's better to prepare all around preparations for all piping design interviews covering all areas, so that you won't feel uncomfortable during the interview for answering simple questions. Number 8, which is the last question in this video: what is VCA? Most of the designers have no clue about it. Only few of them have answered, and in our case only 2 of them have answered. One of them had an idea about it, and other heard about it and have seen about it, but did not get an exposure to work on it basically. So what is VCA? VCA is nothing but valve critical analysis. This is an assessment session which is done to check whether the valve needs a primary access or the secondary access. For example, in a system, you will have some certain valve which requires a continuous maintenance or operations or accessibility. That requires an immediate accessibility. So primary access should be given by stars, not by ladders. But there are valves which requires the rare maintenance or only frequently operated once in a while. So those requires a secondary accessibility and platform requirements. So for that you can provide a ladder or some other kind of accessibility. So basically VCA is to classify the criticality of the wall based on its accessibility and maintenance requirements. Accordingly, the platforms and primary and secondary access will be provided. So this is the intent of it. So if you looked at this 8 questions, these are from different streams of questions. So fundamentally, this will have a strong understanding about whether this person aware about this particular engineering or not, whether he has a diversified engineering or not. Predominantly, this will help us to take a candidate which is suitable for our requirement. So if you are a piping designer, especially a senior piping designer who does not have knowledge about these areas, please try to start prepare from today, so that you will not experience an embarrassing moment in your next interview. All the very best for all of my viewers who are continuously watching my videos. I will meet you in another fantastic video. Until then, bye from Subhash Chandra.